Now on KGW News, willing to lose their jobs rather than get the vaccine.
If I feel like I should not put something in my body, I shouldn't do it.
Hundreds of Oregon hospital workers will be on leave tomorrow if they don't change their minds. Plus, see where the city of Portland wants to put its new sanctioned homeless camps. Are any in your neighborhood? But first, parents dropping their kids off at school find themselves running at the sound of gunfire.
And you just saw in his face fear as he gripped his son.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Laurel Porter. That latest shooting in the Rose City happened just yards from a Montessori school. Our Mike Benner spoke with the school's director, who's pleading with police to patrol the neighborhood more often.
Arc-and-Seal Montessori French Immersion School opened its location near North Portland's Dawson Park in May of 2020. Director Danielle Herman was ecstatic about the possibilities.
There's some really beautiful aspects to what's going on in this community outside of these little pockets that are really unsettling and terrifying.
Herman points to what happened as kids were arriving at school Thursday morning. Gunfire near North Williams and Graham, just 2 blocks over from the school.
Memory is not the best, but it sounded like at least 10 just really quick, like, and then nothing, and then a car speeding off.
This shooting is just one of more than 900 shootings in Portland this year. But it stands out to Herman, who watched as one dad in particular rushed inside the school with his son in his arms.
Seeing another parent with that fear in their eyes is difficult to process.
And perhaps that's because Herman is not only the director of the school, but also parent to 2 kids who go there. She has since called police to request extra patrols throughout the day. We too reached out to see if that's possible.
There isn't a lot of extra time to do that extra patrol. Sometimes the best we can do is just say, we'll try to drive through a little more often. But as you know, just a police car driving through a neighborhood is not going to fix the problem.
Maybe not, but it would go a long way if you ask Danielle Herman, who's tasked with keeping safe more than 36 kids and staff at Arc-and-Seal School.
I don't know what this was regarding, or if there's retaliation, or I don't know how any of that works. And I don't want to make assumptions based on TV. So I'm just going to keep everybody inside for the rest of this week.
Authorities confirmed to us officers did respond to the shots fired call on North Williams. They did not find evidence of gunfire, but that's not necessarily unusual, seeing as not all guns leave behind shell casings. If you have any information about the shooting, or any shooting for that matter, you're urged to contact the Portland Police Bureau. And remember, you can do so anonymously. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
Big news on the housing crisis front. We now know where some of Portland's new outdoor sanctioned camps for people who are homeless will go. The city's calling them Safe Rest Villages, and you can see the 3 locations spread out on your screen here. The first will be along Southwest NATO Parkway, just north of I-405. It's a lot owned by the Portland Bureau of Transportation as well as ODOT, and a spot where some have already been camping. The second is in Southeast Portland on Southeast 45th and Harney. That lot is owned by the city's Bureau of Environmental Services. And lastly, Southeast 122nd and Burnside. That site is at the Menlo Park and Ride and is owned by TriMet. Each village will house about 60 people, and the city is paying for them with $20 million in federal COVID aid. The plan is to keep them open for at least 3 years.
These locations were selected. 1, we wanted to make sure we had geographic reach, and 2, we wanted to make sure we were meeting the houseless residents where they are. We're going to stay focused on that goal, and we're going to do our best to get these open by the end of the year. And if we don't meet that goal, we'll just keep getting back up and keep pursuing.
As for residents in the area where these sites are expected, Housing Commissioner Dan Ryan said staff started making calls to them today. And they want to involve neighbors and in the building and opening process. But he was clear these locations are final and 3 more are coming. And tune in tomorrow for Straight Talk. I talk in depth with Housing Commissioner Dan Ryan on the Safe Rest Villages. We also talk about Portland's gun violence problem and possible solutions. That's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock right here on KGW. Now, those of you living north of the Columbia, time for you to listen up because the city of Vancouver is also working on setting up supportive camps for people who are homeless. They hope to have 3 camps up and running also by the end of the year. The campsites they're planning would hold up to 20 tents and 40 people enclosed by a fence or screening. The hope is to use the sites to offer basic services and support. The Vancouver nonprofit Outsiders Inn will run the first campsite. It wants to help people rise from what it calls the trauma of homelessness. No locations have been selected yet. Starting tomorrow, hundreds of Legacy Hospital employees will be placed on administrative leave if they don't get the COVID vaccine. Under Governor Kate Brown's mandate, all healthcare workers must be vaccinated by October 18th, or they could lose their jobs. But hospital systems have their own timelines in place for when workers must get the shot. Kristen Severance talked to people willing to lose their jobs over this, and the hospital administrators still holding out hope they'll get the shot.
So you are in the ICU?
Yes.
Joseph Steininger is a certified nursing assistant at Legacy's Meridian Park Hospital in Tualatin. He's been a CNA for 14 years.
I love being able to help people get better and help brighten their days and be able to be there to help the nurses.
A job he's about to lose. Joseph is not vaccinated against COVID-19 and does not plan on getting the shot. He said it goes against his religious beliefs.
Why does this go against your religious beliefs?
I have a very strong conviction that if I feel like I should not put something in my body, I shouldn't do it. That goes for marijuana, that goes for alcohol.
How do you prove that this is somehow religious and not just how you feel inside?
Well, in Romans, it talks about not eating anything that goes against your conscience. And that would be similar to injecting something into your body.
Under guidance from the Oregon Health Authority and Legacy's own policy, healthcare workers must get vaccinated or provide a medical or religious exemption. Joseph is one of the hundreds of Legacy employees who had their exemption request denied. They received an email Monday saying they would be placed on administrative leave Friday unless they get the shot.
It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it says that they had a panel that looked at them all individually, but they can't give me an individual response.
The Oregon Nurses Association put out a release saying Legacy did, quote, blanket vaccine exemption rejections. They said 18 nurses at Legacy Silverton Hospital, nearly half the staff in that department, are facing termination. But Keisha Kelly, Senior Vice President and Chief Nurse of Legacy Health, said ONA is wrong. She said each exemption was reviewed by a panel of people.
I'm actually saying that is not true. What we actually did do is we looked at every individual case. And it may have felt that was a blanket denial because we did have to notify a lot of individuals that they did not receive those exemptions. But it was all out of our commitment to patient safety and wanting to make sure that our employees had time to make an informed decision to get vaccinated.
I also talked to the Oregon Nurses Association Communications Director Scott Palmer and Board President Linda Pond about this.
I asked them, did they do a blanket denial, specifically at the hospital you mentioned, and they said no. They reviewed each and every exemption form, and this was not a blanket denial process. What do you say to that?
That strikes me as a little surprising, frankly, because our staff on the ground at Legacy Silverton have not heard of a single nurse who has submitted a religious exemption and who has had that exemption approved. It sounds to me like that's kind of the definition of a blanket rejection. Obviously, we believe that there are some cases in which those exemptions should be treated seriously and should be granted.
ONA said the bigger issue here, not just the workers losing their jobs, but the added stress and workload placed on the nurses left behind.
And what I really want to stress is that it's not just the mandate, that it is the actual impact of COVID. It's the actual impact of short staffing consistently by hospitals over the past 10 years, and nurses have just reached their max.
Remember, this is all happening during a nationwide nursing shortage. And while Legacy officials are still holding out hope, the remaining unvaccinated workers will change their minds. Many, like Joseph, are ready to walk away.
I will lose my job over this if it doesn't change. Yeah. So
You will not get vaccinated. You'll find somewhere else to work, something else to do.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time that I believe that I'm not supposed to take this vaccine, I do believe that God will provide another way.
Legacy also told me they are using contracted workers, and they've slowed down scheduling elective surgeries to deal with the current staffing issues. They've also had to temporarily close some of the Legacy Health Go clinics, and they don't know how long those clinics will be shut down. This is a story we will continue to follow as it develops. Back to you.
And the CDC just released new data about pregnant women and COVID-19. And based on that data, they issued an urgent health advisory. They're encouraging women who are pregnant to get vaccinated right away. Catherine Cook reports.
Being pregnant during a pandemic is bizarre and has been, very worrisome.
A lot of women can relate to Tracy Palmer. She's 38 weeks pregnant and doing everything she can to stay safe. She learned she was expecting around the same time the vaccine came out. At first, she wasn't sure if she would get it.
Honestly, if I wasn't pregnant, it would have been, a really easy decision. In the very beginning, when there wasn't much data regarding pregnant people and the vaccine, we were a little bit hesitant.
Tracy and her wife talked with their doctors, and soon after, Tracy got the vaccine. Her only symptoms were a sore arm and a little fatigue.
After I got the first vaccine, I was actually incredibly surprised at how relieved I was and how much safer I felt.
That feeling of safety is now rooted in new data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. On Thursday, the CDC issued an urgent health advisory to increase COVID-19 vaccinations among pregnant women. It aims to prevent serious illness, death, and complications with pregnancy. The advisory also applies to women who were recently pregnant, breastfeeding, or who may become pregnant. According to the CDC, only 31% of pregnant women have gotten the vaccine. They've tracked 125,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in pregnant women, 22,000 hospitalizations, and 161 deaths.
When a woman is pregnant, there's a 2 to 3 times higher likelihood of severe COVID.
Dr. Judy Marvin is Executive Medical Director for Women's Services for Providence Health. She says the CDC data is sobering, but also underscores the importance of vaccinating pregnant women. Out of 139,000 expectant mothers who were vaccinated, the CDC reports no unexpected or serious side effects. They also found vaccinated mothers can help their babies.
The antibodies from vaccination, they cross the placenta, so the baby's born with a kind of a built-in protection against COVID. And then they also cross through the breast milk too.
I'm really happy that I got vaccinated.
And as Tracy counts down the weeks, she hopes others will make that same decision.
Now it's a no-brainer, and I just wish more people would get vaccinated to protect themselves, protect their unborn child. Yeah, it's just that CDC, those stats they're really scary.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.